Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TGIF Masterclass, our last series, Volume 7. The topic for today is personalization in practice, machine versus and people, I would say. Let me introduce our speakers as well, and we will run through our slides. So the agenda for today is creating customer segments that matters, identifying customers for upselling and cross-selling as well, which is a very important topic that will be covered by our speakers, measuring the performance of your content style and brand voice, which is another major topic which will be covered by our guest speakers as well, winning strategies and losing strategies, amplifying your efforts through AI-enabled marketing platforms, which will be covered by one of our Netco speakers, CK. Just to let you know, guys, at the end, who will be asking the most innovative questions will be receiving two different people from Netco as well, and it will be decided by our speakers as well today. Let me introduce my first speaker today itself. It's myself, Nisham Chabra. I'm the Regional Vice President for Netco Africa. I come across from 15 years of experience from sales and marketing background. I've been in Nigeria for 5 years, managing 15 plus banks in this country, and I have managing some big MNCs clients as well for Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa as well. Let me introduce our another speakers. Please welcome Mr. Yemi. I call him Chief Baba. Mr. Yemi comes from 20 years of banking experience as well, master in service management. He's been in industry, he has most experience in the customer lifecycle management as well, service delivery framework, customer behavior and analytics. Listen to his insights and everything. Welcome, Mr. Yemi. Another speaker, welcome, Mr. Chukudi Wankike. He's my good colleague and friend as well, client success manager for Nigeria and Africa. He comes from 11 years of experience in digital marketing and programming as well. He's handled over 80 plus web and digital marketing projects. He's a member of Canada's Association for IT Professionals as well. Welcome, CK. And our last speaker, Mr. Tayo. I call him Oga Pata Pata. I would say, in my opinion, he's the best content writer I've come across in Nigeria. He's from InterSwitch. He's the head of digital at InterSwitch Group as well. He's been in industry for almost 10 years as well. He's using customer engagement strategies. His content styles is to the right audience at the right times. The open rate, the click rates on the email marketing, and then the personalization on the websites have been awesome. I call him a digital guru as well. Welcome, Mr. Tayo.
Thank you very much.
So yes, let me hand over to Mr. CK, who will take it from here. Welcome, CK. Over to you, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Chukudi Nwokike here. So the first thing we are going to talk about, like Nisham said, is creating customer segments. Could we move on to the next line? All right. So first thing is about treating your customers right. So we hear a lot of maxims that say the customer is always right. But of course, most of the time we use it when there is a dispute or something like that, right? And we say, oh, the customer is always right. But is the customer really your friend, okay? So I know most of us here, I'm hoping that we all have friends. We have a bunch of friends, but we don't speak to all our friends the same way. So why do you think you can speak to your customers the same way? So I feel that treating your customers right, the brand has to actually think what their customer wants to hear and actually speak to them the way they want to be spoken to. So in order to treat your customers right and understand how you can speak to them, you need to create some customer segments, which is a major point in our topic today. So what kind of segments can you create? So first of all, the segments, combine things like language style, the unique needs, and the person's preferred channel of communication. And you're able to create like different groups of your customers so that you can communicate with them. So what kind of segments can you create? So these are some examples. I'll just run through a few of them. You could create demographic segments. So segments based on age, age, gender, and all that. Then you could also create geographic segments, like segments of people in Lagos, people in Port Harcourt. And psychographic is, what kind of things do they like? Like, for example, what kind of places do they like to be? Like luxury brands, for example, the segment of customers they target, they like particular things. They like luxury things, they like recreation. You have technographic, which is very important. That is segmenting people across what kind of device they use. Then also you can segment again by their needs, or the organization can segment based on the value that they provide. So separating your high net worth or your high value customers from your low value customers. So these are just the few kind of segments that you can create for your business and your marketing. So in the next slide, I want to ask a question to one of our guest speakers, Tayo. So the question, next slide, please. Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of segments, geographic, psychographic, technographic. So my question to one of our speakers, Tayo, maybe you can take this up, is, in your experience, what kind of segmentation works the most? And also, like, how can we start segmenting? Like, what kind of easy segments do you create? And, what are the more complicated ones? So Tayo, I'd love to hear from you, please.
Okay, so the first thing is, I see what you are doing there. You almost look like a jam question, but it's not. It's a trick question about which type is the best, or the easy or the hard. I don't think there is a straight answer to it. I think segmentation is always a function of what you need to achieve with it. All right. There are points where you need to do a simple segmentation. You just need to segment based on a singular criteria. There are times when you need to segment based on multiple, attributes to be able to get that. So I'll give you a typical instance. At some point, I'm trying to run an app install campaign, right? And the people I'm trying to convert are people who are accessing my platform via the web. They are the guys who don't have the app. And then the question is, okay, let me segment the traffic by the platform, right? Separate web and mobile to start with. And then go ahead to do one more layer of segmentation for the mobile in terms of devices. Now, what that does is to help you even understand on what kind of platform should you be placing your ad to start with. So, for instance, one of the things I found out eventually was that 40% of the people who visit my site via mobile devices belong to a particular device that belongs to one company. In other words, several devices, but owned by the same company. So, which means if this company have an ad network, I should be putting my ad on that kind of network. So, depending on what is it that you are trying to achieve, in that case, it was more of a technographic, right? It doesn't mean that technography is better. There are times when you want to run a promo and the redemption is limited to a particular area. You don't want to run that promo to everybody. You want to use features like last seen, on your MarTech to then streamline the people you are communicating to within a particular geography and all of that. I'm sure Yemi would have some experience on this too. Yemi, you care to comment on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tayo. And just to buttress what you have said, there's really no hard and fast rule to what works best and what doesn't when it comes to the style or the type of segmentation that you pick. It honestly tied to what are you trying to achieve, what do you want to do. So from what you are trying to achieve, then you are looking for who is the best to speak to in able to get that particular activities across the line. So just like you said, it could be a case of you're trying to sell a particular product. However, this product may not be attractive to everybody. So segmentation is important when it comes to how do you increase your effectiveness, the strategy that you are using, how do you make it something that hits the bullseye? And that is going to be determined by what segment you want to speak to, what channel you want to reach those guys to, which is where do they frequently go to, which is something you've also highlighted in your discussion earlier. If people you want to talk to are largely checking you out on the web, and you are going to go and do an in-app notification that you are not speaking to people, you are not going to get them to do what you want them to do because they are not where you have gone to put your messaging. So I think I think you are spot on there.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. You see, I see a lot of insights being given here. So not only does segmentation help you to categorize your customers, but it helps you to identify where you should be speaking to them. Mr. Yemi's example of how, talking to the people where they are supposed to be, and Tayo's example of how, picking a phone company to target their audience because they have a lot of customers using that particular phone company. Yeah, it's definitely something that I would use in future campaigns. Okay, so when you create your customer segments, most of the time, you need to identify some customers for upselling, right? So let's say, for example, you come out with a new product. I know major brands do this. You come out with a new product, and the first thing they're going to ask you is, what's your target market? Some digital marketers also say, what is your persona of your target market? So how do you identify customers for upselling? That's what we're going to go through now. Next slide. So there's something that there's a popular marketing style which is called the STP framework. So it's supposed to be a style that you can use, or a framework that you can use to actually segment your customers, right? So, or to target customers for particular products. So they say the three things for the STP framework, first of all, is segmentation. So first of all, you create the segments like we discussed earlier. Secondly, you try and find a way to target the people. And lastly, you find, how you want to position your product in the target market. So these three steps you can use when you are creating your product to make sure that it resonates with your audience. Now, speaking of audience, so I'd like to ask our panelists today. How many segments should a brand really have? Should we have 1, 2? Should we have 1,000? Should we have as many as we want? And also, too, is there any relationship that you can find between the lifetime value that a customer gives a business and segmentation? Maybe Mr. Yemi, I would like you to speak on these questions, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Nisham. I think I'll take the last one first. Is there a connection between lifetime value and your segmentation? That is, there's a direct correlation there. And what typically will happen is the lifetime value sometimes validates your segmentation. Let's say you're segmenting across the profitability of your customers or the potential that your customers have. Ideally, you have segments where you expect the low value customers upon engagement, because what your segmentation will do for you is to make you understand the attributes of the different segments, and also allows you determine what you need to throw at this segment to migrate them upward, meaning to improve their value with you and increase your profitability. So lifetime value, segmentation, they go hand in hand, and sometimes the lifetime value validates your segmentation, especially when you talk of banks, you are looking at how to increase profitability. So if you have, for example, I have a 7-model segmentation that I run in the bank, where you have the lowest being the dogs and the highest being the lion. So the purpose of that segmentation model is to migrate people from the lower value to the highest possible value along the line. So what you sometimes will see is, in line with this STP framework, is you're asking yourself, for this particular segment, what do the lookalikes do? Especially when you've seen people migrate from, say, dogs to lions. So you're asking yourself, for these guys, what do they currently do, within what timeline? And you begin to look at people who look like them. You say you have lions who could be of different ages. So you're not segmenting your HNI by age. When you put them, you're segmenting probably by the value they bring to the table. So you're asking yourself, for those that are of a particular age range, what did they do from the first day to say the first 1 year they were with you? Then you go into the lowest level, that is the dose, and you're asking yourself, people of this profile, sometimes you had other things to it, like location, like some other information. What do they typically do? Then you begin to target people lookalikes with the things that the people who have migrated from the lower value to the upper value have done over time. And what you will find out, what we have found out, because we also have something we call the predictive product recommendation model, where using what others like you have done across the different segments, we are predicting what you should do at the time you should do it and throwing those things at you. And the beauty of segmentation is what it does is you are trying to position yourself in the right place at the right time and getting noticed by your customers. The moment, for example, you shoot an email, the open rate immediately tells you if you have sent at the right time and if what you have sent is something that is attractive to that segment that you have sent it to. The next thing is, what action did they take? So sometimes you see an open rate that is very high, then the conversion rate or the click rate that is not commensurate with that open rate. And that takes you back to the drawing table where you have to begin to look at why are people interested, but not taking the action that you want them to. So long and short, if your segmentation is right, it should marry the lifetime value for customers, especially when you are looking at profitability, increasing market share, increasing average transaction per customer, or increasing volume. What typically can happen is, as you get insight, as you mature along the journey, you are going to get narrower, meaning you are going to be breaking up broader segments into smaller segments, so that your targeting is more eating the bullseye as you go along the line. So I think that should be it. Maybe Tayo could add one or two from his own experience as well, but typically that is what you get in that line.
Just to add one or two things to pick up from where Yemi stopped. I think the underlying factor here is that human beings are essentially social beings, right? Which means essentially people of the same attributes have a tendency to react to things the same way. And that's where the whole idea of segmentation and the lifetime value comes into play. Now, like he rightly mentioned, if your segmentation is right, there should be an impact on the lifetime value that it contributes in relation to how your customer reacts. Now, the bridge between those two is then your positioning, which is why when you segmented properly, how you then position to these various segments, it's also a key factor, right? So if you have segmented a group of people who are supposed to be for engagement people, and you are trying to harness value from those people, you are not likely to make much of that, right? So it's in how you then position, what kind of offering do you push at these people, what kind of communication, how do you talk to them? And I like to believe we'll still have enough time to talk about that more extensively in the course of this conversation. But just to say that, like Yemi said, if your segmentation is right, there should be an impact, on the lifetime value that it brings to you from a business point of view. And the bridge between those two is that you must be able to target properly. You are able to then position appropriately, and you'll be smiling to the bank, so to speak.
Okay, thank you, Tayo and Yemi. So I see a lot of Nisha, maybe I'll dwell on this slide for a minute. So I see a lot of things saying on how you should measure, how you should filter, how you should understand what your customer is doing, you know. So I guess a big part to play in this is how your data is organized, how you capture your data, and what kind of platforms you use, right? So I wonder if one of you can share your experience with, you know, working with data, manipulating data, the kind of platforms you use, how you intend to do all these things that you just said with creating segments, because obviously a human being cannot do it on their own.
You want me to go first?
Let me go first.
Okay. I think you should.
Let me go first.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the purpose of segmentation in itself is to achieve certain very important things to businesses. For some businesses, it's visibility. For some, it's profitability. For others, it's just top of mind, meaning you just want customers to remember you whenever certain things happen. I can share an experience with you that a friend had some time ago where he was out of the country, somewhere in Dubai, and he's staying in an hotel, and out of the blues, a pop-up from his bank is telling him that in case you need financial advice as you are around this particular location, we have offices in 2 kilometers away from where you currently are, another one 20 kilometers away from where you currently are. When the guy clicks, you also see the calendar of some business managers that you can check the time for availability. And what that does for you is the integration between human beings and technology. And how do you measure performance that way? How many people are taking up the opportunity to get those financial advice when they are actually in areas that is known for doing business? I mean, if you go to Dubai, there are places that is the commercial now center of that area. Once you are in that area, you are getting pop-ups telling you that your bank knows that you are here, telling you that your bank is suspecting that you are likely in that location for some business, and also letting you know that in case you need some financial advice or you need to check on maybe what the rates are and things like that, we're also here for you. And there's no better way to measure performance from looking at how many and how well that customer, that particular customer, receiving all of those support from you as a result of the segmentation you've done, your integration with some other things that platforms like Netcore will offer you, and using that to again position you in the market and also increase how you support our customers and gain profitability out of them, knowing that everywhere they go, you are there at their fingertips. So again, measuring performance of content in a very simple manner is, I have a product that is coming out, and as a bank, just like CK mentioned earlier, the first thing you want to do is, what market is this product speaking to? What size of that market do you currently have within your customer base? Then across the segment that you have, because sometimes the market is not sitting in just one segment. Across the segment, how do you craft communication to speak to those customers, highlighting the values from all of those products or the particular product that you are bringing to the market, so that they immediately key into the market and you begin to have some kind of uptake that justifies the work that has gone into developing that product. What you sometimes also get from segmentation is when you embed feedback into your engagement. Whatever is selling, you get some feedback about why that thing is being taken up. If a product is also not moving as fast as you think or as well as you think across the segment that you're supposed to have traction with, you are also getting feedback as to why that is isn't working for you. So I don't know if that speaks to some of the way to track performance. So performance ultimately is how much of it are you selling? Who is buying? Is it the market that is intended for? Or you are seeing some other behavior outside of what you initially projected as you are going to the market with that product? So I mean, I'm sure Ty will also have some other things that we would like to add to that.
Thank you, Yemi. Couldn't have put it any better. Recently I was looking at one of Google's report about how people use mobile application, and one of the things that was said in the survey is that 64% of people say they would do business with companies that are able to indicate that they know them better, right? And about another 80% of people says that they will do business with companies, especially mobile applications, who remember their details. In other words, they don't want to have to introduce themselves every time, right? Now, all of this boils down to, when today's customers are saying they want you to know them, it boils down to having a share of the people's life. And to be honest, that's where, marketing is at the moment. It's not about getting a share of people's wallets to start with. It's about getting a share of their life, a share of their lifestyle, being part of their life, and being part of their life in a very intelligent way, all right? And that's where segmentation comes in, that you're able to segment intelligently. Now, to segment intelligently also means that you need to be able to do a lot of things in real time, which means your data platform need to sync with a MarTech platform that is able to, in real time, intelligently bring out your communication to the people at the point of their need. Give them that awareness about that thing at the time that they need it. Now, that's where tools like Netcore comes in. Oh, sorry, I have to mention Netcore a lot of times because, I mean, that's like my major tool. So let me just add the caveat. So when you have tools like Netcore, you're able to do a lot of things. So for instance, you're able to do geo-targeting of your customers, for instance. You are able to set up reminders, especially for those of you that you are running subscription services, and people need to be reminded because people are doing a lot of things are taking people's time, and people need to be reminded about renewal. You need to be sensitive to the period that people actually want to spend, and period where you need to be offering them things around loan facility and all of that. So at what point of the month are the people broke, and what's on their mind is not to buy. You need to be able to affiliate with them. So intelligently segmenting your data, syncing it with a MarTech solution that is able to then pass across your message in such a way that the communication meets with the people at the time that they actually need it is how you are able to become a part of these people's life. And that's the wonder of segmentation.
Thank you, Mr. Tayo. I would say, and thank you, Mr. Yemi, as well. You're putting in the right format for the content styles as well, and the segmentations in the right frame as well, in the right manner, putting it into the different tool and using it to the right channel, to the right people as well. Good insights on the mobile app, Mr. Tayo. So yes, correct, content style is very, very important for the brand to be used to marketers, to their customers as well. Choosing your brand voice is very important. Imagine a loan company says, yo, Mr. Yemi, you can get a loan. Mr. Yemi would be offended. But if someone says, yo, Mr. CK, you can get the loan, it would be very, CK would be like, okay, you can see the generation gap. Or imagine someone is at 60, 65 or 70, you say, yo, Mr. Tayo, that person would be offended in terms of what is the content style you're using to market your product. And it would be very difficult to come back to that, relate to your product as well. So it's very important that your content is very easy to understand. You can resonate with the generation as well. Emotional impact is very, very important for your customers as well. And as I said, it's the convergence that you see, as I've already said it before as well. Mr. Tayo is one of the, in my opinion, is one of the best content writers in content. So I'm sure he would have some things to add to this as well on more for the slide. So In your experience, Mr. Tayo, and Mr. Yemi as well, let me ask Mr. Tayo first. What do you think the content styles are best? What kind of brand voice implications for Gen Z, Y, and X should be used? What measuring works better in terms of, in your opinion, please?
Okay, so let's start with the styles and the generation. Obviously, there's a generational gap, right? And communication play a very big role in uniting that. Now, beyond the generation gap, one of the things that also does is that the different generation want different things. Okay, so for instance, the older generation are more security conscious, and they want people they want to trust with their money, especially to be people who appear responsible in a way, right? So the way you communicate to them has to give that appearance of seriousness, right? So you can't say yo to people of that generation. They'll be like, okay, is this guy serious? Should I even be trusting this guy with my money and all of that? You say that to a Generation Z guy, and the guy will be like, oh, fantastic, this guy is actually cool. One man's meat, another man's poison. So when you understand that, you then understand that, again, bringing me to, tools like Netcore, which is where idea of, A/B testing and multivariate deployment comes into play, right? For instance, you are deploying communication to a particular segment. You have what I call my friend Raman. Okay, so Raman is actually an AI feature. I know I'm going to write an article on Raman one of these days. Raman has a way of picking up your keywords from the past and helping you to, optimize it to be able to say, look, if you go this route, you are most likely not going to appeal to this guy. Those kind of intelligent, applications that help you to preempt things. Now, the third thing you need to bear in mind is what all of these people are trying to achieve and what you are trying to achieve. So for instance, you are trying to drive volume, financial volume, conversion. The guy with the money is not exactly the Generation Z guy, is not exactly the young guy in quote. This other guy wants free things, right? But he's ready to make a lot of noise for you. So if you want to put out that looking cool communication, that you want it to have talkability, you want people to be able to go on Twitter and share it and all of that, and it's creating a lot of noise and giving you top of mind and brand equity. Oh yeah, you should be targeting those guys with your communication. If you want to drive volume, you want to drive conversion, then you should be targeting these other guys. So again, in terms of what you want to achieve. But then to crown it all is that there are principles that come across, for everyone, irrespective of who you are trying to target. It must be simple. It must be emotional. Sometimes you can bring a twist of unexpectedness. It has to be concrete, especially when you are talking to the older generation. They have more logical people, right? You need to give them a reason to believe, right? A reason to trust what you are saying. And then, of course, you need to storyfy it in such a way that it can relate to them. But the one mistake you must not make in all of this is that your call to action is very important. If you do everything and you leave out your call to action, you are just like the guy who goes to the bar with a girl and spend all his money on the girl and stand up from there and say goodbye, have a nice day. What do we gain? Like people, like Lagos people will always throw out the lingo. So your call to action is very important. Otherwise, what do you gain, right? So all those basic principles apply across board, irrespective of the generation. But your segmentation and in terms of the tone of your voice, it would then, be what will make the difference and how you intelligently again apply this in reaching out to the people. You don't have to do it manually. There are tools, that already help you with all of that.
I'm sure, Mr. Tayo, you would have a date today because you brought the idea about taking a girl out. CK, over to you.
No, I guess Mr. Yemi would have something to say about brand voice, because I know that Weber Bank has customers of all generations and of all types. So, Mr. Yemi, let's hear what you have to say on this.
Yeah, thanks, Chike. I think Tayo has really done justice to that. But I'll just give you a typical example of what you can deal with when you get your voice wrong, especially just like you mentioned, when you are dealing with multiple generations in within your organization. I mean, I'm sure quite a lot of organizations also do that. So there are times where the tone for alerts is typically the social media lifestyle type tone. And unfortunately, you also have baby boomers, Gen X on alert. So typically, I'll say, hey, CK, how are you? And we go into the discussion via email. However, a customer shot us an email back and asked the question, why are you calling me hey? Were you there when I was giving that name? So we have to look back at, come on, how many people feel this way about being called hey? Funny, this particular individual is a Generation X person, a lady in her early 50s, lives in the UK, and she said, you guys dare not call me a Ramota or a whatever. That you have to address me with respect. I do good volume with you guys. And just like Tayo said, if you're talking about profitability, you're talking about uptake of business, you're talking about Gen X and the later part of Gen Y. So we have to take a decision. For people younger than, say, 45, you will get your email, you say, hey. For guys older than that, you say hello rather than a, and people feel that your communication is not appropriate to them. So it's extremely important to be honestly attentive to some of these things so that you are sure that the tone of your message is resonating with the guys that you are trying to speak to. Lastly, just to round up what I also said, when you look at the generations, you can clearly see the difference. The Gen Z don't have a lot of time to read long messages. They like pictorial, one paragraph messages that hit the nail on the head. So from the phone, if they have to scroll up or down, then you are probably not going to get them to see where the action button or what the action, the call to action is. But for the older generation, the baby boomers, they have the time. You have to be factual. You have to present a case, or you have to be narrating or taking them through a logical process to come to a conclusion, and then you get them to take action. So just like Ayo said, you need to understand the generation you're talking to. You need to be able to now speak and see the emotions that is important to those generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is very, very insightful. So I guess now most of us know how to speak across generations to our business. And I'm sure if there's one thing that we have learned, you cannot speak to everybody the same way. So I think it's something that needs to stop. Matter of fact, you cannot speak about every product in the same way. Like you said, some people like to process things and read the details about things. Like if you are selling like a complicated financial product and you want to do it with one poster, I think good luck to you. Probably you won't get much success in doing that. So as much as we say, I think one mistake that we marketers make is we take one thing and we try to generalize it. As much as we say people don't have time to read, people like pictorial things, people like visuals and all that. It's not everything that you can sell to like that. And it's not everybody that you can sell to like that. For me, I'll give you a personal experience. It doesn't work with me. If you do not give me detail, I either think that you are trying to hide something or your product is not good enough. These are the two things for me. So it doesn't matter what you are selling, you must give me detail about what you're selling. So I guess everybody has different feelings about these content styles and stuff.
I'm sure that means City falls into Generation X because you need details.
Yes, I'm supposed to be Generation Y, but my mother always told me I'm an old man in a child's body. So I guess maybe I'm a baby boomer by now.
No, You're very correct. If a brand sends me something not detailed information, maybe if I'm interested, I would ask, but I would always think why they are not giving me full information in first go when I want to read something to it, because you're trying to market me my product, your product to me. So it's very, very important, as Mr. Yemi, Tayo, and CK has already mentioned everything, is you cannot give the same content to the everyone. It has to be very, very different as well. For Generation X, sometimes maybe a small content work because they are, they want to just look at it, click on call to action, and finish it off. Maybe to Generation Y and other generations, it works differently as well. So yes.
Yeah, so we've talked about how to do things, right? But also for me, I think if you know how to do things wrong, yeah, it's easier for you to do things the right way. At least you know where you shouldn't go, right? So on the slide that we are showing here, we are showing some things that, are basic mistakes in segmentation. Like I can give you an example, one that is, Tayo has spoken about using static segmentation. He spoke about how he uses Netscore to have his data platform and his marketing platform in the same place so that he can send a communication with a viable call to action to the customer immediately, right? Another thing is correlation versus causation. Yeah, so this is a very interesting one. And I think, like, for example, you think that it is this set of people that actually like your product, right? You think that, it's because of your marketing message, these people like your product, right? But you don't know that it's because of your product, they like your product. It's not actually your marketing message, So how do you avoid these pitfalls and all that? So I want to ask our experts who are both working in the fintech industry. I really love the fintech industry because I think it's the industry in Nigeria that has the broadest base of customers and all kinds of customers. If you walk into a bank, you can see 80-year-old people and you can also see 15-year-old people. So in you guys' opinion in the industry, especially fintech, what are some winning strategies and losing strategies in segmentation, personalized communication? Maybe one person can talk about something that works and somebody can talk about something that doesn't. Or so let's hear from our speakers, if you don't mind. And Nisha, maybe if you've heard some things in your experience, you can share as well.
Okay, so let me start with somewhat of a joke of a segmentation gone wrong story. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, the Amazon case of a teenage girl that used the father's credit card to buy something on Amazon. I think it was a pregnancy test kit or something. I mean, no, or it was a clothing, something around baby that suggests that the pregnancy is in a certain month. So what they did was to then customize communication to follow up from that month, right? To say that by the time it's 5 months, these are the things you should need, right? Now they were sending those messages to the owner of the credit card, not knowing that the daughter only used the father. And at some point, the man got angry to say, "Why are you telling me about pregnancy?" And it became a very big case. Later realized, the man realized that the daughter took his credit card to buy on Amazon, found out that the girl is actually pregnant. It became a very big case. It was a typical example of segmentation gone wrong, which is also a function of when the data is wrongly interpreted, right? It almost looked like a correct segmentation, really, when you think about it, but the data was wrongly interpreted. So if they had factored in variables like, what if the owner of this card, the person using this card, is not the owner? What if the customer is not the consumer? So even in our segmentation, we need to make room for certain variables, right? So that it then serves as your saving grace in the event that things go wrong on that leg. The other thing I also need to mention is in terms of market changes. So I'll give you a practical example, personal example. At some point, I discovered that the volume of engagement with our email communication was dipping, right? And this was in the wake of the COVID. Usually our communication would go out on weekends, right? But what has happened is that because of COVID, everybody is working from home, which means people now read their emails more during the week as opposed to weekend, because now there is enough time. So the time, the better time in the past, which used to be weekend, shifted to weekdays, right? And when we started looking at the data, we then discovered that, oh, okay, so even though we send emails on weekend, people actually read them during weekdays, right? So that's where tools like send time optimization, again, I have to mention Netcore. Sorry, choose. I'll keep mentioning you people and using you as example. I mean, the tool is working, so sorry, I can't stop but talking about it. So tools, features like send time optimization then comes to play to then say, automatically take the historical data of the people and how they've engaged with email and deploy my communication to them at the time that they are most likely going to engage with it. And the output was out of this world, right? It was better than what we used to do before the whole, decline and all of that. Just to, help you also understand that if you don't constantly pay attention to data, the market can shift and you don't know. And the same thing that happened with communication engagement sometimes could happen even with things around payments, things around how people, then engage. It could be a particular product that you are a middleman for, and people are having issue with that product, and it is impacting on how people engage with your own platform. You need to constantly pay attention to the market, right? So that even when you look at data, the data fidelity is in how you are able to marry the market reality with what the data is saying to you. But on a final note for me, in terms of what works and what doesn't work, is to just tell people that, look, data is always speaking to us. Segmentation is always speaking to us. The question we want to ask ourselves is whether we are paying enough attention to know exactly what they are saying to us and actioning things from there.
Thank you so much, Tayo.
Thanks a lot, Tayo. I think I'm just going to add one or two things to what you've said. So don't overflow the same thing. I think for me, the fastest way to lose out on the segmentation journey is when your segments are too broad. They are static and too broad. For example, you have a segment. That doesn't mean that everybody within that segment will react or respond to a particular thing the same way. For example, you have a discount that is available only in Lagos, but very attractive to a particular segment. The best thing to do is, just like you said, is the discount is only available, delivery is only going to be to people within a particular, let's say, VI or Lagos Island. And you are throwing the communication to everybody in that segment without taking note of the distance, maybe the last time they logged in, where did they last log in, where did they frequently log in, and taking some kind of radius from where your discount shop is located, say a supermarket, and engaging just those guys. Sometimes what will happen is you are telling some guy that is in that segment, but is in Kano, that he can get a discount for a shop that is in Lagos. The guy is thinking, okay, you guys are, you don't even understand the fact that I am angry because this is something that I would love to take advantage of, but you're only like spiting me with this because I can see that I can use this value, but this value is so far off from where I am. So somebody will say, I'd rather not know about it than being told of something that I can use, but I can't reach. So again, when your segmentation is too broad, and you can assume that something applies to everybody. For example, CK, you say fixed deposit is something that every customer will be interested in, but will it be driving some of the objectives that you've set for your organization? Maybe not. For example, a clear example is you have a group of customers that we call EPOs. These people are people who often leave large sum of money in their account, sitting in their account, and they don't spend it. You know, to banks, those large sum of money comes at maybe 1%, 0 point something percent. Then you want to market fixed deposits. You are now sending an email to everybody, including people who are giving you free funds, to come and put their money at 15% for you or at 10% for you. Then you are not, you are misusing the segmentation that you have, because too broad, you understand? So you need to, within the segment, you have to make it narrow, depending on what you are trying to do and the purpose for whatever it is that you are trying to do. So those are, for me, one of the biggest losing strategies when it comes to segmentation. Segmentation is as good as the purpose for which every specific engagement is going to attain. Lastly, you can have a government regulation coming from CBN, and you are trying to interpret it the way it appeals to the HNI, or the way it affects the HNI, the way it should be communicated to an HNI, is probably different from the way it affects somebody that is very well down the ladder. So you have to break it down so that each of these segments clearly understand how these things affect them, and you are seen to clearly understand the situation and the circumstance of each of your customers across some of those segments. So for me, broad segmentation is almost like a killer to any objective that you set for your organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tayo and Yemi. This was a very great insight on segmentation. We are about to wrap up because we're almost past through time. So Tayo mentioned a little bit about Netcore platform. One of the things that we do here at Netcore is that we create a platform. We have a platform that can help you to do most of all these things in an automated way. Now, just like segmentation, when we are pitching our platform to organizations, you know, we are not telling the guy who is signing the money and the guy who is using the platform the same thing, because the platform is so robust that it has something for everybody. So for the management, for the leaders, for the directorship, they get to be involved with a platform that keeps them at the latest trends in marketing technology and doing innovative things that customers will talk about, like the Generation Z people like to yap about. Let me use that word. So we help the directors achieve that goal. And for the end users of the platform, they get to have a platform that does most of all these difficult thoughts in an automated way simply, and they can be able to achieve their marketing objectives. Tayo, of course, has spoken on some of the things that he has benefited from Netcore, and I'm sure Wema Bank also, who has given us a case study in the past, has benefited from our product as well. So we have a platform, one-stop shop for your success. You have consultants like myself who actually help you to achieve your marketing objectives. We have the omni-channel personalization engine that you can speak on all channels. You have machine learning to do your segments automatically for you. And of course, we have delivery in different channels. Next slide, Nisham. So what kind of KPIs can you achieve with personalization and with MarTech platforms? These are some of the things that we have done. We have helped brands to increase their conversions by 20%, enhance their user activation, feature discovery, increasing time spent, and increasing user retention. I'm sure you guys would all agree with me that these are awesome metrics. So that is it about Netcore. I want to thank our speakers for coming here today, for giving us some, some very exciting things. Even though I'm the one doing this webinar, I think I learned a lot, because I even learned some things from Mr. Yemi, Tayo, and Nisham, who I even work with that I've never heard before today. So I really want to appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. We were discussing on the chat, but it seems nobody wants free hampers. But we were saying that the person who asks the most innovative question gets 2 free hampers from Netcore. So feel free to ask us questions. We are short of time, but you can send your email. You can send an email of these questions to the email address shown on the screen, and we promise we will get our speakers to respond to you. And the people who ask the most innovative questions, they get a prize from Netcore. We'll just request your address and we'll send it to you. Before we go, I wonder if our speakers have any final thoughts, Nisham, Tayo, Yemi, Any final thoughts before we go? Thank you, everyone, by the way.
Thank you, CK.
Yeah,
I just want to...
thank you very
Sorry.
much. Again, the truth is the journey for us in Wema and Alert, especially when it comes to engagement, wouldn't have been incomplete without the additional support from not just Netcore, but all of the guys involved in managing Netcore. I can't begin to tell you how we've gone from open rate of single digits to in some cases we've had as high as 80, 90% open rate. Conversion rate has increased tremendously in the last couple of years as a result of some of the capabilities that Tayo and yourself have mentioned. So for everybody listening, again, this is not a platform that is theoretical, very practical, very easy to use, and the impact on the bottom line, you do not need, like my guys from my side of the country will say, you do not need an impact piece to let you see how much value you've gotten from this. So you don't need any oracle to show you how this is impacting your bottom line on a day-to-day value. So, basis. So thank you so much, Nisham and CK for having me here. Thank you, Professor, for sharing the depth of some of your knowledge and insights. I'm sure we'll catch up at some other time. Thank you very much. And thank you to those listening as well.
Professor, any last words from you?
Yeah, so again, I just want to say that, the beauty of everything we're talking about is the fact that it kind of moves marketing from the era of to whom it may concern. You know what I mean by to whom it may concern? Back in the day when you want to send letter and you really don't know the address of the people, you just say to whom it may concern. It has moved marketing from the era of to whom it may concern. And right now we address people to the least details. And that's the wonder of segmentation and real deeper targeting made possible with tools like Netcore. Everywhere I've had to go speak around digital, I don't fail to mention it. Because what it does is that it takes marketing beyond just engagement. It helps you to tie marketing to business KPIs in clear terms, right? And it helps you to justify your usage of tools, at any level of the business, because you can empirically present results. And I invite everyone listening, to join the movement, really. Again, that's coupled with the support you always get. I can call Chukudi in the middle of the night if anything is not working, which, by the way, is on rare occasion. But the 24-hour support that you enjoy is another thing that I dare you to the platform. So I thank you very much for having me around today. It's been great listening to Mr. Yemi, getting, Baba, like we used to call him, is a lot of experience. What an adult sees when he's sitting down, a young person, you can't see it even if you are climbing the tallest tree. So thank you for impacting us with a wealth of your knowledge. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope to come around again. I really do hope so. It's always my pleasure.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Just the last parting words. Thank you, Mr. Tayo from InterSwitch. I really appreciate your time and coming to our webinar. Thank you, Mr. Yemi from Alert. Really appreciate your thoughts, your feedback. Both of you have given us some great insights for our marketers to go out there and trying to do different things for different segmentations, different content styles. I hope, thank you attendees as well, that you have taken so much of notes from our webinar today, and maybe wanted to even get in touch with one of us Of course, you can share some on LinkedIn your thoughts, or you can always email on this slide which we have here, or maybe you can also call on this number as well. Thank you, CK, as well, for great insights from your end, deeper, I would say, stats as well from Mr. Tayo, Mr. Yemi. Thank you, attendees. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward for the next time as well. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.